Hi there. On the show today, I'm going to be chatting with the fiercely intelligent and prodigiously talented writer and journalist, Samanth Subramaniyan. Now, Samanth is a Chennai boy, but he is right now a deputy editor with The Mint in New Delhi. But he's come to the city for the launch of his first book, Following Fish. Welcome to the show, and may I add my 2 words of praise for whatever it's worth.
As long as it's 2 words, that's fine.
No, it's not 2 words, it's a couple of sentences, but I don't think it'll mean much, especially after Ramchandra Guha says here that this book is a stunning debut by a hugely gifted writer. Now, when I heard that you've written a book, I thought it's going to be about Carnatic music or cricket or literature or books. But fish and a whole book on fish, that's come as a big surprise.
Yeah, the theme usually tends to surprise people when they hear about it. But if you read the book and once you start even sort of browsing through it, you'll realize that it's largely journalism. And since I've been a journalist now for close to 10 years, so in that sense, it probably shouldn't come as that much of a surprise. It's just an extension of what I've been doing as a journalist for the last close to a decade.
But why fish? I mean, who decided on this theme?
So we were looking to do a sort of a travelogue with a difference. And the idea came up between me and my editor that we should look at the coast of India as one geographic sort of, self-contained route that you can take when you travel. And so then the question became, what do you base the travelogue around? And so I took a little time to think about that, and the answer really turns out to be fish, because fish is at the heart of a lot of these communities that live around the coast. And I especially mean the communities that live outside the cities. So it's at the heart of their food, it's at the heart of their culture, their religion, the economic survival, because they depend on fish for their livelihood. So you unwrap all these these various layers, and you come across fish at sort of the center of their world. And once you think about that, it makes perfect sense to have that as the theme of the book.
Now, I'm thinking that many of the viewers may not have yet read the book, but you all should. So if I may say, sum up the book in a nutshell,
Sure.
I would say, the image that I would use is that of a fishing net with fish in the middle as the motif, and all the skeins are religious, cultural, political, anthropological, what else?
Yeah, ethnographic, historical.
Yeah, gastronomical.
Definitely
also.
gastronomical, yes.
Yes, so I'm thinking that the book has 9 essays. Very convenient for us because the show is in 3 segments. So I thought maybe we can talk about 3 essays in the first segment and the other 2,
Sure,
other 3
that
in
sounds
the
good.
other 2.
That sounds good.
Yeah, so shall we start with the first one?
Sure.
Would you like to tell us about the first one? It's called On Hunting the Hilsa and Mastering Its Bones.
The hilsa is a variety of a shad fish that is really prized in Bengal. And I'm not even talking about prized as sort of just a culinary centerpiece, although it is that. But it's really sort of almost a centerpiece of an entire tradition of Bengali food and Bengali culture. It's a seasonal fish, you don't get it all year round. And so, as I describe in the book, it turns out to be sort of almost a rite of passage. You have to earn the right to eat the hilsa in season. And it's a difficult fish to eat. It's full of these little tiny bones, and somebody described it yesterday as eating barbed wire with some fish mousse wrapped around it, which is a great description, I thought. So you need to kind of master the act of separating the bones in the fish and making sure you do it elegantly, and that again is almost a baptism by fire into the Bengali community. So I went to hunt the hilsa in the off-season, and I found, contrary to expectation, that it is available in plenty. Because of sort of exports and other reasons. And I explored sort of this culture of eating the hilsa and the culture of cooking the hilsa, how it's cooked, and why it's so prized in Bengal.
And so here I must add that I was on a train to Coimbatore reading the book, and I called up Samanth and I told him that I think I might just end up eating the book because it's such a yummy, mouth-watering piece. It's so evocative. There's also a recipe included in the essay, not a proper conventional recipe, but just kai alavu madri, There's this lady who's cooking it, and you really have a way with words, and I love your turns of phrase, toenail clipping of a moon, and so on and so forth. So were you a born writer?
I don't think anybody is. I think you're right, only because you read a lot. And then you write a lot. I mean, it comes with practice. It comes with years of sitting down to write. And just David Remnick, the editor of The New Yorker, has sort of a phrase, which is a Yiddish phrase. So I don't remember the exact word, but it basically means putting your rear end in a chair and writing. And he says, I don't see what's so hard about that. It just takes hours of work. But you put your rear end in a chair and you write, and you're bound to get better.
Yeah. I'm thinking let's move on to the next piece.
Sure.
We'll talk about writing as a discipline a little later.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's one of the most difficult things to do, especially if you have ADD, and a lot of people have ADD these days.
Right.
So I'd like to know how you actually, sit down and
Sure,
not get up and all of that. But let's move on to the next piece, which you said yesterday is your favorite, and it's mine too. I just found this very, very personal. It's called On Swallowing a Live Fish, and this is the fish treatment which is administered in Hyderabad by the Batani Goud family. And Samanth actually went there and took this treatment. I found this piece very moving because you start off by telling us about your grandfather, who was a medicine man of sorts, and I just loved the way the piece ends.
Yeah.
So and when he swallowed the live fish, he says that it tasted overwhelmingly of asafoetida, something that he absolutely abhors.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about this essay.
I started researching this essay, funnily enough, roughly sort of a year after my grandfather passed away. So he was still very much in my thoughts at that time. And then I went to report on the Goud family, which administers this treatment. And, I found sort of so many links. And every time I looked at this man, this Harinath Goud, I was reminded very powerfully of my own grandfather. And the link between faith and healing and between rationality and belief is something that I really wanted to explore. I mean, the fish, as I said, is just an excuse to explore these various other themes. And that made it possibly the most sort of personal essay in the book. And the fact that the recollections of my grandfather just kept haunting me as I was going through the motions of reporting the story.
Let me add here that that the piece, there are people who are very skeptical about this Batani Goud family because these people don't charge money for giving this treatment.
No.
So people think that maybe there's some other kind of a monetary compensation coming from the government or some such thing. So but I just love the way the piece ends, whether it was their fish remedy or not defined them or gave them an identity, whether there was some hidden commercial motive, or whether the Gouds really believed that they were sending people home asthma-free. Really, there was no way to tell, someone says. But for a few moments, watching Harinath at work, I was reminded powerfully of my grandfather and his healing sessions, of his roaring faith, and of how in that charged slice of time for both the healer and the healed, and even for me watching with the child's easily suspended disbelief, anything was possible. We could all be well again. I must say that actually brought a tear to my eye. I just thought there was so much tenderness and so much love for people, and you're very non-judgmental in this piece. I thought that was...
In all the pieces, I think, I tried to keep myself or my own judgments and opinions out of it as a true journalist. I mean, you kind of grow up with this motto that you shouldn't judge what you're reporting upon. That belongs on the editorial pages. Yeah,
but yesterday at the launch, somebody was talking about how, travel writing or travelogues are subjective. And I wanted to make that observation yesterday, but I thought I'd save it for this conversation. Sure. I think your pieces are subjective, but there's a certain objectivity, and that's a very rare quality, I mean, you're talking about it very personally, so it's very, very subjective. Right. But you're able to also stand away and be...
So how I describe it is that my thoughts are on the page, but my thoughts aren't necessarily going towards forming a judgment or an opinion. It's just sort of the process of my thought that is mostly on the page. And I have to say, it's something that I had to consciously think of doing for this book, because otherwise as a journalist you don't even put your thoughts on the page. It's all third person in a sense. So I had to kind of work at keeping a balance between my thoughts and between what I was observing, and try to keep a Chinese wall between the two and hope that one wouldn't pollute the other.
Anyway, we've got lots more to talk about. We're going to take a break. We're going to give him some coffee and come back, because we have 6 more wonderful essays on completely different elements. It's all about fish as the motif, as I said earlier, but then the essays are quite brilliant, so stay tuned.